Welcome to the Drop the Needle podcast, your backstage pass to the corporate jungle. I'm your host, Jim Alstott, and here, industry titans step up to the mic, sharing their epic journeys. We're hitting the high notes and the low notes of their careers, creating a symphony of success. This isn't just another interview show, it's where truth bombs are dropped and secrets are revealed. So grab your conductor's baton because who knows, this just might help you compose the next huge hit of your career. Are you ready? Let's go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Drop the Needle podcast. I am your host, Jim Alstott, and I am so happy you all decided to join us. We have as a guest with us today an internationally recognized expert on philanthropy, charitable giving, and transformational change. She's a leading figure in the American nonprofit sector. Her deep fundraising experience, groundbreaking research on giving patterns, and influential ideas on transformational philanthropy have led her to become one of the most trusted philanthropic advisors in the nation. She's also an amazing author and a professor at my alma mater, DePaul University. Oh, yes. And she was hit by a taxi, run over again, and lived to tell about it. We have the incredible Ms. Lisa Dietlin. Welcome, Lisa.
Hey, Jim. How are you?
I am great, and thank you so much for joining us.
I am always happy to talk about philanthropy, charity, giving back, and, of course, being hit and run over by a taxi.
Yeah, let's not forget about that, right?
Yeah, that little thing.
Yeah. And we have a common friend or a mutual friend in Jen Weigel. So I have to say thank you to Jen for introducing us. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
And we also have a common thread as it relates to paying it forward, because that's one of the biggest things that I started the whole podcast. I guess that was the idea behind it, was paying things forward, because I think that's a big deal. I mean, at least it is to me. And I know that's part of your DNA, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
So, let's see. Yeah. Where should we begin? Because there's just really so much to discuss here. But what I'd really like to get down to right away is I got hit by a taxi, but you look run over, your book, which is amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Why don't we talk about that?
Okay. Happy to talk about that. We're coming up on 10 years next month. In September of 2024, it's been 10 years, which has gone by in a nanosecond.
I can't imagine. You're right. Time just flies, but holy cow, what a memorable day.
It was.
Can you bring us through that?
Absolutely, I can. It was one of those situations where you look back and you think, how in the world did that happen? I look back now and I see many signs that led to that point. I was leaving a board meeting. I served on the board of a nonprofit of a theater group, and I was in downtown Chicago. It was about 8 o'clock at night on a Monday night. I'd just been to my goddaughter's wedding that day before, and so a lot of things are on my mind, and I'm walking and on the streets because I've got to get my 10,000 steps in because I have my Fitbit. I'm an
Right.
A plus personality, firstborn. And I was in a crosswalk on Lake Street called Post. I was about 2/3 of the way through the crosswalk when a taxi hit me going what they project was about 35 miles an hour. He struck my left calf as it was, taking a stride forward. And I remember the first thing I recalled is, why does my jaw hurt? Because Jim, he had propelled me into the air. My leg had acted as a lever, and I had landed on the hood of his car on my buttocks, facing heading down to Lower Wacker. Those of you who know Chicago or the Blues Brother movie where, they go boom, 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 and they're going to Lower Wacker. That's the street. And I just, because it jarred all the way up from, the bottom of my spine, my sits bones, all the way up through my jaw. My head hit the windshield, the back of my head hit his windshield, but I did not spider crack it. I didn't do anything to it. And then because he was braking and turning, as he was going down to lower Wacker, my body turned to where I was facing him, looking over my feet through the windshield. He had a look of horror on his face. I don't know what
Oh,
my face looked like, but I was like, oh my God,
like,
I am on a hood of a car. And I had two thoughts.
oh,
The first was, how long is this going to last? Because everything was moving very slow motion. In Chicago, our public transportation, the L, goes down Lake Street, and there was a train going overhead, and it was just moving so slowly. And anyone who's been in a car accident or any sort of accident will recognize this, that time slows down. And the
yes.
second, I thought, how am I going to get off the hood of this car? Because believe it or not, as fun as I am, I don't normally sit backwards on the hood of a car. And then
No.
I realized because he was braking and trying to stop, I was sliding off backwards. So I flew off the front of his hood of his car backwards and again landed on my buttocks on the ground. And it's a little downhill incline, so I threw my
Right.
forearms down so my head wouldn't, the back of my head wouldn't smack the pavement, the asphalt. I was very concerned, Jim, about my head. Like, I got to protect my
Sure.
head at all costs. I remember I had my purse on one shoulder and I had my briefcase on the other shoulder. And I was trying to lay as far back as I could because he kept coming. He couldn't stop. He was going that fast.
Oh,
And that's when
Jesus.
he ran over me for the first time.
Ugh.
And I remember looking up and thinking, this is it. I'm 51 and done. I'm going out by taxi. Like,
Oh my gosh.
people must okay, this how my life's ending. I'm 51 and
By
done. And
taxi.
taxi. She got hit by a taxi. And
Oh my
he did
gosh.
stop. I mean, just at about the top of my chest, I'm looking up at the grill of the vehicle, and he stopped. Everything stopped. And the tires were to the right and left of me. They did not go over my body. And then, surprisingly, without getting out and checking where I was, he threw the car in reverse and backed over me because
Oh my
he
gosh.
was so panicked, I think. He
Oh my
didn't check if I
gosh.
was hung up under the car, if my straps from my purse or my briefcase had gotten hung up. I mean, he just backed up.
Started going,
He
right?
started going backwards. And
Oh
honestly,
my.
when people ask me, when were you most afraid? I said it was at that moment because I thought he was fleeing and I was all alone
Oh my
about
gosh,
8:20
yeah.
at night, splayed out in the middle of the street. Didn't know if I could move, didn't know what the damage was, knew my brain was functioning, but didn't know where my body was at that time. And I thought he is the only person in the world that knows what's happened, and he's leaving. He didn't leave.
Jeez.
He stayed. He ended up
Well,
staying.
thank goodness.
And rushing in, as well as two do-gooders, James and Ryan, that ran in to help me.
Wow. Wow. I mean,
So that's the taxi accident and everything that
holy
happened
cow.
after.
Oh my gosh. So, having read your book and
Mhm.
listened to some of your interviews with, especially with Jen,
Yeah.
there's a couple of things, and pardon me, I may have mentioned that sometimes that I think of funny things or even say
Yeah.
funny things at like stressful or inappropriate times.
That's okay.
And so when you got flung up on the hood and you said it's not usually something you do, and all I was thinking is like, okay, so this was your first attempt at the White Snake video with Tommy That's like,
Yeah,
White
exactly.
Snake video gone wrong, completely. Just like, holy crap. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm sorry
No,
if you
that's
saw a
okay. Love
smirk. I was
White
just like, oh
Snake.
my God, I gotta stop that. It's just a reflex of mine, like a coping mechanism.
Absolutely.
That's like, some bad shit's happening. Laugh. So
It was.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And so run over it twice.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. That's dumbfounding.
Yeah.
And you were so close to that bumper, you could taste metal, but it didn't hit you.
Absolutely. I was like, if I let my head fall back and smack the pavement, I don't know what's going to happen to me. Is he
Oh
just
my
going to keep
gosh.
driving? And uh, so James and Ryan came in and they started attending to me. And the taxi driver, this young man, he got out and started apologizing. And I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm thinking like, okay, you're kind of the last person I want to speak with right now. I
Yeah.
know you're sorry. I know nobody intends to hit anybody, but
Got it. Yeah.
back away. So they
Right.
wanted to move me, James and Ryan, out of the middle of the street or lay my head back down and I just said, no. I said, don't touch me. Like I'm fine right now. Like I can breathe. I'm not hurting
Right.
anywhere. And so they were directing traffic because, of course, there were still cars trying to use that road.
Right.
And I'm in the
Right.
middle and I won't let them touch me because they don't have a backboard. They don't have a seat collar. They,
Right.
they don't
Right.
have
Right.
any. I mean, I love crime shows. I know what they're supposed to do.
I've seen this on TV 100 times.
And you do not have the stuff.
Do not touch me.
And
Do not touch me.
they directed traffic. They called 911. We were waiting for in Chicago. The fire department comes with the ambulance, and we were
Right.
waiting, and we were waiting, and we were waiting. And apparently, the taxi driver thought it was an inordinate amount of time because he offered to put me in the back seat of his car and personally take me to the hospital.
Oh,
To which
what a
James and
nice
Ryan's like,
guy.
no. Other
No.
things people say
No.
was, were there passengers? Like, was the meter running? I'm
Oh
like,
my
no.
gosh. I didn't even think of that. You're right. What if somebody was in the car with that?
What if they were in the
Holy
car? And
cow.
no, there was nobody. And they go, no. And I'm thinking, oh God, I don't want to be in the backseat of your car. He was simply trying to be helpful. So
Sure.
then the ambulance came and they started taking care of me. And they, Lisa, we're going to lay you down. They got the seat collar. And then they look at me and they say, did you take off your shoes? And I look down and I have no shoes on my feet. I had these boot shoes on. Most women will know they're chunky heel and they go up on your ankle a little bit. And I had been hit so hard, I'd been blown out of my shoes. I'm like, no, where are my
Oh my
shoes?
gosh.
And they found one on the east side of the street and one on the sidewalk on the west side of the street.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
they read out like, it's truly when I see shoes now when I'm walking, I'm like, did somebody get hit? Did somebody get hit by a car? Like,
Bet.
not just are they out having a good time tonight, but did they
Right.
get hit by a vehicle or
Oh my
something?
gosh.
So they gathered up my shoes. They put me in the ambulance because I'd been hit and run over twice and blown out of my shoes. They said, we're going to take you to Northwestern Hospital Trauma. Is that okay?
Right.
And I said, absolutely. Like, just get me off this pavement someplace
Yeah,
that
right. Let me
somebody's
get
going
out
to
of
say,
here.
I'm okay. So I go to Northwestern Trauma and we get to the hospital and bust through the doors. And this one doctor says, Lisa, we've got you. He's a trauma surgeon. He says, about 16 of us are going to be working on you. Don't worry,
Oh
we
wow.
got you. And the first thing they do is they say, we need to cut off your clothes. And I think, did I wear matching bra and panty today? Like, seriously, Mama was right. Like,
Yeah.
put
Oh my
on the
gosh.
clean underwear. I was
Yes.
like, did I wear the matching shirt? Like, I don't know who I was trying to impress on the gurney.
Oh my gosh.
So they kept doing tests and more tests, and every test kept coming back negative, that there was nothing wrong. I mean, I had CT scans, CAT scans, X-rays, contrast, blah, 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 anything, to where halfway through the exam, the 4 hours that I was there, the head trauma surgeon says to one of the other doctors, has she been drinking? And the doctor
Right.
says, no, there's no blood, there's no alcohol or drugs in her blood panel. There's nothing. To which I say from the gurney, but I was going home to have a glass of wine because apparently I didn't want to be known as a teetotaler. Like, hey, I'm not. I was going to go have a drink, but so
Not yet.
and they were just thinking like, how could she have survived this? Because they had
So relaxed and everything.
the police report. The police officer had come to the hospital and talked to me about it, and what had happened as I'm in and out waiting for more
Right.
tests. They could not figure out what was going on with me because there is no way I should be behaving or reacting to
Or
the test the way I
alive.
was. or
Or
alive. Yeah.
alive.
So I got kept getting shoved in the hall on a gurney as they kept waiting for tests. And there was this sign above the wall. There was a door and there was a sign and it said decontamination shower. I remember looking up, I had the collar on, I was thinking like, that's really interesting. That's really interesting that I keep being put in front of this decontamination shower. It's like I was getting this message downloaded from the universe, like we're decontaminating your life. We're taking away all the bad
Right.
stuff because what
Reset. Yeah.
most people don't know is that from the outside in 2014, it looked like I had everything you described. You know,
Right.
author, speaker, client, accomplished, well known, and I was absolutely miserable. I was
No
absolutely
kidding.
postponing joy. Oh my gosh. I was absolutely miserable. I've been miserable for 2 years. I knew what I had to do to fix it, but I kept thinking I had to fix the bad stuff before I could go the good stuff. The stuff that I really wanted to do, which is the stuff I do today, was just a
Hmm.
small piece of my day. I had this big company. I was managing 16 people. I
Huh.
had
Okay.
clients in 40 different states. I was all over the place. Everybody knew me. And one of my staff members looked at me and said, "Why are you so unhappy?" And I burst into tears. I go, "I don't know." She's like, "You have all this success, but wasn't happy." And then she sat
Huh.
down with me. Her name was Ina. And she said, we happen to be soul birthday sisters. Our birthdays are on the same day. And
Oh, cool.
well, where do you spend your time? And we mapped it out and she put in Excel and did a pie chart. And we figured out that 75% of the time I was doing things I didn't want to do. 75%
Oh,
of the time. No
wow.
wonder I was unhappy. And so she
Wow.
said, what would life look like if you focused on this? And so then I said what I wanted to do. And I created the company I currently run, and I had the plan, and I promptly shoved it in a drawer, thinking I had to fix
Hmm.
the old business. And what I realized is, I really don't like managing people. I don't. I
Okay.
I think people should just be able to do their jobs. Don't ask me if you
Right.
can have the
Right.
Wednesday off before Thanksgiving. Don't ask me if
Yeah.
you can,
Yeah.
do this meeting via Zoom or on a call or what. Don't you know what you have to do. I don't want to have to make that decision.
Right.
And so when I look back before the taxi accident, I kept getting signs from the universe to change my life. And I can talk about those, but I kept ignoring them. So fast
I
forward to,
definitely like to talk about that because
yeah,
I think those are often missed by people, or they, maybe it's because they don't register or they ignore them because the analytical mind, that left brain, doesn't. That doesn't mean anything. That's
yeah.
just coincidence.
So I had, so I'm under this decontamination shower sign, thinking back, and I had 3 instances before the taxi accident with my vehicle where truly the universe was saying to me, stop and go the other way. And, I got to, after my taxi accident, I went to see Oprah. She happened to be
Mm.
doing Live Your Best Life weekends, and there was one in Detroit. And I took my then 20-year-old niece who said, Mom said you got hit by a taxi. Like, how are we going to do this? I was like,
Right.
yeah, don't worry.
Right.
We're going to get there. But Oprah says it's your intuition, go right instead of left, go up
Hmm.
instead of down, and the universe throwing bricks at you until eventually you hit the brick wall. And my
Right.
20-year-old niece looked at me and said, Aunt Lisa, I think you hit the brick wall. And I was like, huh, out of the mouths of babes, right?
Yeah.
So what had happened is the first time was I was trying to find clients, and I was going to Michigan, and there was a blizzard, and literally it said, stay off the roads. And I'm going to go.
Right.
I'm going to go because Lisa Dietlin can do anything. And I'm in Michigan. It's a blizzard. I mean, it's the type of snow where you can't read the overhead green highway signs because the
Oh my
snow is
gosh.
stuck to it. That's the way it
Yeah.
is. And I ended up spinning out and threading a knee between the bars of the sign, the things that they put in the ground that they put the sign. I threaded it to where the state police like, how the hell did you do that? Sorry, I don't know if I'm not supposed to swear. How the heck did
you can. You can definitely swear. No, you can.
Like,
you can
how
swear.
the heck did you do that? You know, and I'm like, I don't know. So they towed me out. I went to the meeting. Okay, the next time I'm getting up, and it's like April, and I'm getting up early in the morning to go work out. So I'm working out I get up at 5 to leave my house at 5:30 to work out from 6 to 7 to meet with somebody in my company who's reporting to me because they want to meet at 8 in the morning. So it's an April day. I'm on Western Avenue, and it's ice that you can't see.
Black ice.
Frozen, black ice, frozen over. And this big white pickup truck comes behind me, diesel, I can hear, and they're frustrated with me for going slow. So they go around me on the right side. It's 2 lanes each way. They hit the ice, they spin out, and they propel me into a tree.
Oh my gosh.
The universe saying, stop. Now I'm fine. He's fine. But his car's not moving. Everybody's spinning out. So it takes about 2 hours for the police to get there. I say, get in my car. We sit in my car with the heater on. He's a welder at Lagunitas. His name was Jorge. I mean, we made great friends, great story, but truly. So then fast forward, a third client up in the UP of Michigan, and my staff bid on it, and they bid the contract low. And so I said to them, okay, so who's going to do this work? And they go, well, you lived up there. You should go. So now I'm mad, but I go. Literally, my engine blows up on the shores of Lake Superior, outside Marquette, Michigan. Now, the meeting's at 4 o'clock on a Sunday. This is about 12:30. So I call the tow, and I say to them, listen, also I have to rent a car. So they come and they get my car. They tow it in, and they say to me, there are no rental car places open on Sunday in Marquette, Michigan. I go, yeah, right. What about the air base? What about the airport? What about the dealership? No. I go, no, seriously. I got to drive 2 more hours to Houghton, Michigan, and the meeting's at 4 o'clock. It's now 1 o'clock. I need a car. And they go, well, there are none. I look up and I see this thing. I go, can I rent that? It was a U-Haul moving van. I rented a moving truck, Jim. I rented a moving truck to get to my meeting. 1 piece of luggage in the back, rolling around, and people are like,
gosh.
I pull up, people go, are you moving back here? So then, I mean, like, I wasn't paying attention. The universe is saying, stop on all those things. Stop. You're being insane. You're being crazy. Stop. So I'm laying under this decontamination sign, miserable in my life, not reading the signs. I mean, I've literally been run over twice by a taxi. And I hear this voice, and this voice says, it's all bullshit except happiness and joy. And I got the C collar on, and I'm kind of looking around like, who's in this room talking? Like, is there a doctor, a nurse? Like, who's? And there's nobody. And I hear it again. It's all bullshit except happiness and joy. And I knew it wasn't me because my favorite word isn't bullshit. It's the word that rhymes with hockey puck and not the hockey part. You know, that's my word. That's the word I'm going to drop. If I'm going to drop something, that's the word I'm going to drop. And I'm like, who is it? And then I heard it for a third time. It's all bullshit except happiness and joy. And I realized it was a message from the universe. At that point, I had become clairaudient. I was hearing messages that were coming from the universe. It still took me 6 months to adjust my lifestyle. But after 4.5 hours in the ER, and nothing could be found wrong with me, literally nothing, they had cut off all my clothes, so they put me in paper scrubs. They put those shoes back on my feet. Yeah. They made me drink a little ginger ale to make sure I could keep it down.
Wow.
They wheeled me out. They gave me all my clothes that they'd cut off in a see-through bag, so I had all my clothes. And they called me a taxi, Jim, to go home.
Yeah.
They put me back in a taxi.
Salt in the wounds.
And I get home about 1:30 in the morning, and the taxi driver's pulling up to my front door. which is an outside door. It's not a doorman building or anything. And I said to him,
Right.
could you watch me and make sure I get in my house? He goes, yeah. And I said, well, I kind of got hit and run over by a taxi tonight. He goes, what? I go,
Oh
well, if
my
I fall,
gosh.
I just want to fall on the inside of the house, not the outside. Like if I'm going down, I'm going down on the inside of the house. Uh, so that's the
Oh my
taxi story
gosh.
and how it completely changed my life.
Oh my gosh. So a couple of things that I took note of was three,
Okay.
three,
Hmm.
three. So except for you didn't get run over three times, only twice. So uh, that's
I know.
I would take that. That
Yeah,
doesn't
I didn't
need
need
a
a
third
third
time.
time.
No, no, twice is too many. Um, but that's one of those things that Jen always refers to. Whenever I hear it three times, I know that's a, a true,
Yeah.
authentic sign from the universe. And you had your three instances
Yeah.
that were your signs ahead of
Yeah.
time, and then again with the three, it's all bullshit
Yep.
except for joy and happiness. So that's really interesting. So that, and you started, or was your awakening, or whatever you want to, when your gifts turned on, was clairaudience.
Hmm.
Was that the very first time that that's happened to you?
The first time that I was conscious of it. I'm not sure it hasn't happened in the past, or, when I listen to people speak about, hearing things or knowing what card to pull in a deck, or, that
Right,
the
right.
phone's going to ring. There's been times in my life I know when the phone's ringing. Before we had cell phones, people, when it used to be the old
Right.
fashioned phone, I would know
With a
who it was.
curly
But I was just like, oh
cord on the
yeah,
phone.
well, they
Yeah.
said they'd call, it's them, or, oh, I was thinking about you, so I'm
Yeah.
sure it had been happening to me throughout my life, but I just wasn't as conscious of it as it was then. I mean, I started hearing things. I started hearing messages, and I'm not comfortable in my skin of sharing messages. Like somebody comes to me
Sure.
and say, "What do you think? What do you?" Or be in a room of
What are
strangers.
you
But I've
hearing
had
right
many
now?
friends. Yeah, what should I do?
Yeah.
But I have
Yeah.
had many friends call me, and they'll be talking to me, and I'll just get a download, and I'll say, and I always ask permission. I say, "Do you
Right.
want me to share what I just heard, or do you prefer I not?" You don't want to know, and they go,
Right. Right.
"Oh
Right.
no,
Right.
if you got a download, tell me." And it's usually a big aha moment for them. But I can't, mm, I can turn it on for myself. I can't turn on, like, I can't say to you, Jim, oh, I just got this download for you because I tuned
Right.
in. It's the
No, I was
spirit.
just going to ask you that if it was something that you can just draw in or bring in anytime you'd like, or is it something that just happens on its own? Or
For other people, it happens on its own. For myself, I can bring it in anytime. I mean,
that's
I
cool.
can I can bring it in seriously. I mean, there are just things I know, and
Right.
I hear it and I just know. And the voice doesn't scare me. I mean, I would have thought the voice scared me, but it doesn't scare me. And I can tell when it's me thinking like, "Ooh, I really want to hear this." And it's me.
Right. Right. Right.
I can tell my voice from the voice.
I was
when,
going to
oh,
ask you that
yeah,
question.
I can tell
Is it
when
a
it's me.
different voice, or is
Uh-huh.
it your voice?
Uh-uh.
Is it that?
Not my voice.
Really?
I can tell when it's mine. I'm like, "Okay, you're trying to pretend it's the voice and it's not."
Oh. Is it okay? So this may seem like a silly question, but when you hear the voice, is it a different uh, accent, dialect, or way of talking, or how can you differentiate?
It's like a humming in my body. It's like it just comes in and every cell knows that it's the voice. It's it's like a knowing that just comes in.
Hmm.
Some people might call it a light. If they, some
Okay.
people might call, but it's just a knowing versus me. And it's like, did it run in my head? Well, what about this? What about
Right.
this? And it's,
Yeah.
it's just a knowing that comes all the way through my body. So I'll be, one of the times it happened, um, I was in this relationship with this man, and I was at a client meeting, and I was, listening to them, but thinking about the relationship, and we were at a tough
Hmm.
patch. And I, as clear as day, got a message so clear that I turned to look and thought he was standing in the corner. I mean, that's how clear, like the answer came.
You're
I thought
kidding.
somebody is standing, and I turned, and the clients go, "What?" And it was all glass walls, and there was nobody else on the other side of the wall. There was just the two of us. I mean, the two client people and the client
Right,
and
right.
me, three of us. And I was like, and they lit. It was that loud.
Everybody turned and
And
we're
they're
like,
like,
what are you
what
looking
are you
at?
looking at? Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
nothing. And it was that loud, the answer that came back.
Oh
And it
my
was like,
gosh.
okay, stop thinking about this. Focus on the
Yeah.
client.
Yeah.
And
Right back here, right now.
right back. Let's get right back to business. So it is,
Wow.
yeah, it's just a knowing.
That's something. I mean, that's really something. So again, maybe a silly question. Is it, have you been able to quiet it when that happens, or does it, when it's coming, you can't stop it?
That's a
You know
great
what I mean? Like
question.
turn it off?
Yeah. I think it's more like tuning in. A
Okay.
lot of empaths or a lot of psychics and that will say we all have that muscle, and it's
Right.
tuning into the right frequency. So it's
Yes.
always there. It's just me tuning in. So yes, I can shut it off like you can shut off a radio. You can, like, yeah, I'm not
Hmm.
gonna. Isn't there a book that
Close for
by nothing
business.
can dead people see you shower or something? Do dead
Yes.
people?
Yeah. Right.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, can they hear? So I think it's always there. It's a muscle that you can always tap into, just like, you can always walk, but if you're capable of walking. I don't want to be
Correct. Right.
disrespectful to people who aren't capable of walking, but if you are capable of walking, you can walk anytime, but sometimes you might choose to sit, sometimes you might
Yeah.
choose to lay down, but you're always capable if that's an ability you have of walking. And so it's like that. It's always there. But
Right.
I don't walk 24/7, so I'm not tapping into it 24/7.
Sure. Sure. No, thank you for explaining that to me. It's something that I don't possess. So, although I say that, and there have been times when
Mhm.
I've heard my name yelled,
Mhm.
like just Jim,
Mhm.
and not from a hey freaky type of
Right.
thing, like just trying to get my attention. That was like, hey, stop that,
Right.
or there's something going on. Look ahead. Don't
Yeah.
stop looking around. Pay attention to what's going on. Um, so I have had that happen. So that's really, really interesting to
Well,
me.
and I think most of us have dreamed. We might not remember our dreams, but most of us, I mean, those are
Right.
messages coming to us, downloaded to us. So thinking about your dreams, your subconscious working things
Hmm.
out. I mean, I remember my mom said the first time she knew I had dreamed. So my hair was really short. She cut it in a pixie, and I had these dark eyes. And she said I was really quiet at the breakfast table, and I was eating my frosted flakes.
All
And I
right.
remember how sugar coated those cereals were.
Oh
And she
yeah.
said,
Heck
I
yeah.
looked up at her and I said, I had pictures in my eyes last night. And then I went back to eating. And that was the only way I could describe dreaming at the time. I had
Wow.
pictures in my eyes last night. And so I'm thinking like, wow, I was aware very young of dreams. I didn't know how to describe it, but she said
Sure.
I was at the breakfast table and like just not my usual rambunctious self. Like, she's like, what's wrong? And I was probably trying to figure out
What it
what
was.
what was
Yeah.
going on in my head. So I had pictures of my eyes last night.
That's an eloquent way to describe that,
Yeah.
quite honestly.
Mm.
That's interesting. So I know that you had written books on
Mhm.
philanthropies and how to go about that,
Yep.
tips and advice and things like that. But this isn't about that.
No.
But
No.
so what was it that really prompted you to say, I got to write this down?
Ah, because it was so life changing. First of all, after the accident, when I got home and knew everything would be, I was okay. And doctors did attend to me for, 2 months, making sure I didn't have a traumatic brain injury, that I didn't have things lingering. Uh, the first thing I wanted to do after the accident was tell everybody I love that I love them. It
Right.
was that near death, even though I wasn't, as some people who have near death or NDE experiences, I wasn't, I wasn't hovering, I wasn't floating. I mean, I thought, yeah, I'm 51 and
Right.
done, but I had a lot of the after effects of, I just want every single person in my life to know that I love them. So I grouped my friends into different groups. When I was 50, I had about a half a dozen to 8 girlfriends that came from all over the country, and they stayed for my birthday, and we had a grown up girlfriend slumber party. And so
That's cool.
thanks. I emailed them together, and then I emailed some high school friends together, and then I emailed, work colleagues together, and the reaction from everyone was so overwhelmingly positive and crying, and oh my god, like it was a real moment in time for most everybody to realize how the news could have been so different. Instead of getting a love
Sure.
letter from me, which was an email, they could have gotten, we're sorry to share with you that Lisa passed away last
Past.
night. She was
Right.
hit and run over by a taxi, and the
Right.
reaction. And so because there was so much positive response to that, people said, you really should write about this. You should write about, the transformation that happened, that you were so unhappy, and you know what but it took some time. There was a court
Yeah.
date with the taxi driver, and there was a
Oh
transformation that
yeah.
happened there. And it still took me 6 months. I mean, seriously, Jim, from September to February, I tried to go back to that old life, and I just couldn't put the pieces back together. And so in
Hmm.
February, I came home from my office, and I poured a glass of wine, still had the big company, and I called my bookkeeper, who's been with me 20 years, and I said to her, I'm done. And she said, what do you mean you're done? I said, I'm done doing crazy. And she said, okay, what does that mean? And so we talked about some of my clients
Fair
that,
question.
yeah, were making me crazy. Some clients that were paying me very handsomely, significant 5-figure contracts
Hmm.
monthly. And I said, I'm done. I'm going to terminate those contracts. And she goes, oh my God, you are going to take a financial hit. And I go, I don't care. I am done doing
Yeah.
crazy. Because no matter how hard I worked, throughout the time of my large company, I would keep saying to her, why am I working so hard and feel like I'm not getting ahead? Or why am I working so hard and I don't have any money to go on vacation? Why am I working so hard and whatever, fill in the blank?
Right.
And she'd say, well, because you got all these people, and they all want their
Right.
hand out, and they
Right.
all,
Right.
and I don't know. I think I was a good business person with that company. I don't think I was a great business person. I led with my heart, not my head. I couldn't be cold and calculating. And there were many instances where every advisor I had, accountant, bookkeeper, attorney, auditor, everybody said, do not do this. Do not do this. And I'd say, yeah, but I got to be able to look at myself in the mirror. So I would
Right.
cave. I would cave to the employee demand, or I would cave. And my brother said to me, he said, yeah, you led with your heart. You made decisions with your heart. And I did. And I can look at myself in the mirror and know that I wasn't cutthroat or what have you.
Sure.
Um,
Right.
I, you know, I was a caring
I think that
boss.
that's pretty successful. I mean, especially in today's world, you don't really see that as often as you'd like.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I'm at a point in my career where I can choose who my clients are,
Hmm.
because most of my clients are through referrals, and I can respectfully decline
Hmm.
if I don't get a good vibe from it, And
Right.
I know that might sound silly. And there for a while, I would take on whatever because you
Yeah.
just got, well, money. You
You
just
got to
got to
pay
keep
the
money coming
bills.
in,
You got to
got
pay
to
the
keep it
bills.
coming in. But then it got to the point where I didn't feel good about it. So I can relate to what you're saying when
Mhm.
you just don't have that good feeling. And it doesn't have to be like, hey, we're running down the street, skipping around and yelling, having a parade or anything like that, that good feeling. But it
Mhm.
when it doesn't feel right.
Mhm.
It's one of those things. Well, what do you want? I don't know, but I know what I don't want.
Correct.
And that's a great starting point for a lot of
Absolutely.
people,
Well, and
you
I had
know?
the plan. I had created with Ina 2 years before. I had the plan.
Right.
I
Right.
was like, okay. And it's hard to say to staff, yeah, I'm going to close this company. It was negotiate getting out of my lease. I
Oh
had
yeah.
people that were
All of
subleasing,
that.
telling them, all that icky stuff you don't
Right.
want to do. I had
Yep.
this great friend at the time, and you know how I was just listening. I think it was Tyler Perry was saying, sometimes people come into your life for a reason or a season. Some of them
Right. Right.
don't stay with you, and Dana was definitely for a season. And this is true. It was Labor Day weekend. It was a year after the taxi accident. I had this big office space in River North, and I was cleaning it out. And it was me, and she agreed to go with me. And we're shredding documents. We're shredding documents I could shred because, I kept
Right.
everything. And I only had to keep 7
Right.
years. And the company was 12 years old. And literally at one point, I am curled up in a ball on the floor crying about the decisions I have to make. And Dana's just shredding.
Oh,
And she goes, well, just think of it this way. She said, you never have to live through this day again. You never have
oh
to do
yeah.
this day again. And I was
Great
like,
advice.
it was so profound. You're right. I never have to live this day of pain, of dismantling something I built.
Right.
And I think,
Right.
Dana had gone through a divorce. So my guess is she had
Mm,
experienced some of this. I wasn't her friend when she went through her divorce. I didn't know her. But my guess is people who've gone through divorce, separation, being fired, losing a house, whatever it is, when you're feeling that, whatever we call failure or not
yes.
success,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
you think the pain is always going to be there. And her point of, you never have to go through this day again. I never have to be hit by a taxi again to live a life that I want to live. I never
Sure.
have to do that again. So it was very poignant advice.
Man. Is it ever? I mean, and that's it's so true too,
Hmm.
because we cling to those things and just have that rerun, that loop in our brains of this pain, and we just kind of love and caress it and go, oh,
Oh,
the pain, the pain, the pain, the pain, and
we love
romanticize
telling
it.
the pain stories. We love telling the
Yes.
pain. Oh my God. And then this happened and that
Ah,
happened. And and let me tell you, or we love being miserable.
yeah, there
We
is that.
love being miserable because that's the story we know.
Yes. 100%. Your brain is always going to seek out that familiar
Yep.
story or familiar path, and it's
And
whether it be good or bad.
right. And I grew up thinking or learning that anything worthwhile was hard. It was hard.
Right.
That was like, if it comes too easy, it's probably not worth it. If it's easy, it's not going to last. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I can manifest like crazy now, Jim. It's like I just ask the universe and I walk outside and there it is. It is crazy how, and anybody can do that. It's not Lisa Dietlin's specialty, and
Right.
our great faith teachers, spiritual leaders in the path have taught us that, if you believe in the man that walked the earth named Jesus, he said, ask and ye shall receive,
Right.
what
Right.
you reap, what you sow, all of those things that we say, what goes around comes around. Absolutely true.
Yep. Karma. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Knock
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
will be answered. Absolutely true. But if you're
Isn't that
focused on the
amazing?
miserable, the bad stuff, you're going to get more of
Same
the
holds
miserable.
true.
My
Yeah.
brother says this all the
Same
time. I
holds
love my
true.
brother, and he'll say, I never get a good meal when I go out to eat. What in the world do you think the universe hears? Do not give him a good meal.
That's what he wants.
Yeah. Because he
Consistent.
wallows in the miserable. His food is always the last to come to the table. His food is always cold, or it's not cooked the way he wants it cooked. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
goodness.
my mom would always say to my dad, when my dad was alive, we passed away many, many years ago, but we had the station wagon, the wood panel station wagon,
Mhm.
and the pop-up camper. And she'd say, you can find a dead-end street in any city. And my dad would make a wrong turn, and we'd be on a dead-end street, and he'd be trying to back up this station wagon with a dog and 3 kids and a wife saying I was right, and the pop-up
Oh my
camper.
gosh.
I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh.
honestly, you can look at it anyway. We always get lost. My flights are always delayed. What happens to those things? My flights are always on time. I always get through.
Right.
My flights always take off. And people are like, how'd that happen? I go, I just don't think of it any other way. Like I'm going to be home.
Right. No, that's fantastic. And so in our pre-show conversation, one of the
Yes.
things that you had mentioned was your superpower being manifestation.
Uh-huh.
And that is incredible to me. I marvel at people. And you're right. Everybody can manifest, especially if you take a moment and listen to it or
Yeah.
put that energy forth and that frequency forth. I get that. But I marvel at people that actually do it, because I look as I don't think I do, but I do on some level, because I may have told Jen this too, but I think I manifested meeting her because I was listening to one of her books. I think we even talked about it, where I was just cutting the grass and listening to Jen's book. I go, gosh, I really like her voice, and I really started to lean into authors, especially the Audible authors that read their own books. They're the narrators, because it's their voice reading their words and their inflections and everything. And it's like, gosh, she writes well. I enjoy this. She really seems like somebody that I should know. I'd really need to meet this person. And boom, I met her and have been part of the spiritual social club and all of those different things. And it's, I guess, so after I said, I really don't do that, I guess I did do that. So it's interesting how that happens. I know that we're already pressed up against time, and I wanted to talk about one of your big things that I felt was really, well, you wrote a book about it, so it was definitely a powerful thing for you. And that was first of all, I apologize for the transition. I just looked at it that we're running out of time, and I want to touch on this. And maybe, I know your schedule's crazy, but maybe at some point in time we can have another show where we talk a little bit more about this, the power of 3. Can you?
Love to.
Well, because I'm going to say right now, I could keep talking about this and how your life changed after getting hit by a taxi for days. I am amazed by these things. But I'm drawn to it, which is why the left turn, or not even, it's not like a sharp left turn, but sure, it's like a curve where I started out the podcast with the idea of let's business, because I've been in business for 29 years of my recruiting career. It makes sense, and I want to help people. And then, I don't know, about 10 episodes in, 9 or 10 episodes in, I'm going, something's missing. And it was the spiritual component to this is such a big part of my, I guess, who I am in my life, that I wanted to start to talk about these things. And because I know there are people out there that are very successful in business. We're talking about this right now, or talking to you, that also have a spiritual side to them, or a component in what they do. So, and anyway, this is where we are today. But so if you're cool with it, well, maybe we'll do this again. But in the meantime, can we touch on the power of 3?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You want me to?
Yeah, I'd like you to explain it, because I've read the book, and as I even mentioned, employ some of the tactics on a smaller level. But yes, please.
So The Power of Three is my fifth book, and I wrote it because it's something that I would casually say to clients about being successful, meaning call 3 people a day. I'm a fundraiser, raise money for charity, for nonprofits, and I would say call 3 people a day. If you call 3 a day, that's 15 a week. That is 60 people a month. That is 780 people a year. If you are calling 780 people a year, you will be successful. And it started for me when I started fundraising. I started in political fundraising, and I did corporate fundraising for nonprofits. And then I went to individuals, and my boss literally gave me a list of 500 names, IBM printout on the green and yellow, Jet Max or whatever it was called, printout, and I carried it across campus, and I looked at it and I kept thinking, I don't have time to call 500 people. And we do this all the time to our board members or when we're volunteer committee. Call 20 people. Nobody has time to call 20 people. And I kept looking at the list, and every time I met with my boss, he would ask me if I'd called anyone on the list, and I would have every excuse in the world. You put me on this committee, I had this meeting, blah, 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 blah. Finally, I realized he's not going to stop asking. And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the list in my office, and I thought, I don't have time to call 500, but I can call 3. So I called 3. I got 2 voicemails and a receptionist. And then the next day I called the next 3. And pretty soon people started calling me back. And it's like a farmer planting seeds. Unless you plant the seeds, you're not going to grow anything. And I realized, and I actually exceeded his goal because I got through all 500 names plus an additional, every day. So whenever I faced a challenge in my life, Jim, I think, what 3 things can I do today to whatever it is? When I was in a bad job situation when I first came to Chicago, and then I quit that job after 4 months, my family thought I was crazy. I had a house in Houghton. I had a condo here. I had enough money in the bank from April to September. And what am I going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to find a job. And this is before the internet was invented, people. 1998, okay? Like, seriously, before the internet. And so every day I did 3 things. I might look in the newspaper, I might call a friend, I might update my resume, but I would do 3 things or make 3 calls every day. And what tends to happen when I'm coaching friends who are out of work, like they do everything on Monday, and by Thursday they're depressed. Nobody's called them back.
Sure, right,
and I say,
right.
Why not do 3 things and then go for a walk on the beach? Do 3 things and then go to the library, because you do free things when you're out of work, do 3 things and take a nap. And plant those seeds a little bit every day. Be strategic. Think about it. So when I want speaking engagements or when I want to be on TV or the radio, I just do 3 things a day. Like, just start planting 3, making movement happen. I'm also tenacious. So I would tell my clients this, and they would say, do you have that written down anywhere? I want to take it back to my, group, especially boards of directors. And I was like, no, isn't it just kind of common sense? So I wrote the first chapter. I thought, well, you can't have a book with 1 chapter. What else do you do? And then I thought, I'm tenacious. I don't give up. I think we give up so easily. We just, like, the first no we get, we're like, okay, that's it. Well, no is just more information. Like, be tenacious. Keep trying. I mean, I would have clients say, well, they said, no, nobody wants to give us money. I say, have you called all 8 million people in the Chicagoland area? No. How do you know nobody wants to give you money?
How do you know? Right, exactly.
How do you know? I mean, in our personal life, if we really want something, we'll go after it. I just went to a Pink concert, and I have a friend who is on it. She's on StubHub, she's on Ticketmaster, she's on the resale, she's on the Pink website. I mean, she doesn't take no. Oh, these tickets are no. Okay, no. And guess what? We ended up with great tickets. Well, if you do that in your personal life, why wouldn't you do that for a goal you have? Pink was a personal goal, to go to that concert and hear her perform. But yet in our jobs, we give up so easily looking for a job. Well, I didn't get the interview. I didn't get the job. Great. You might get a better job. Houses. I can't tell you the number of friends when we have this housing shortage, like, that was a perfect
Right.
house and I lost it. And they're kind of go, probably you're going to get a better one. Probably you're going to
Right.
get a better. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so
Absolutely.
glad I got this house and not the other one that I wanted. Like, don't give up so easily. And so when I come back and I talk to you about the Power of Three, there'll be a whole bunch more I can share about the other
I can't
chapters and
wait.
what we do.
I cannot wait, because that tenacity piece is something that you hit on 100%. I'll never forget with my my office. I worked for a company for about 15 years, and then I branched off, and I got an office and had 6-7 recruiters that were working for me. And they just said, well, nobody wants to, give us a job, and nobody, blah, 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 blah. I can't, So, and this is in the morning. Every morning you'd have these meetings and talk about, okay, what happened yesterday. And so we got to the job section and client section, and I heard that from everyone. And I put my marker down and walked to the light switch, turned off the lights, and left. And they're like, and then I came back and they said, well, where did you go? I said, well, you said nobody was going to give us a job today. So I just thought we should all just quit and go home. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah, I mean, obviously we can't, there's nothing we can do.
Right.
We better leave. And then I was, and this is even before I started any of the coaching stuff. Does that make sense? Is that a true statement what I just said? And I just, you get stunned silence.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not a true statement.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get after it. So
Right.
Love that. And yes, we are definitely going to come back to that. And we'll probably hit a little bit more on the car accident in the book and the transitions too, because again, I'm like a moth to a flame with that. Sorry.
Don't manifest a near-death experience.
No, yeah, right, exactly. No. That's not for me. I'm just so intrigued by all of that. But anyway, okay. So as anyone can tell you that's listened to the podcast before, this is the section when I ask the guests some musical questions. And this is pillar 4 of our show. And as I mentioned regularly, music is the tie that binds. And I believe everyone, and I mean everyone, has a soundtrack that accompanies their life if they just take a moment to think about it. So you ready for the musical questions?
I am. I am.
Awesome. What was the first song that you fell in love with from the radio?
The short answer is I don't know. I know the first 2 songs that there were conversations in my family about, and partly I have about 4 years ago I got hearing aids, and thinking back,
Yeah.
I could never hear or understand the words to songs on the radio. So I remember, and it's a horrible title now, we would never say this, but it was the song Half Breed by Cher. Remember that song?
Oh,
It was
yes, I
popular
sure
in the
do.
70s. And I
That's all
remember
I
it
ever
was in the
was.
back. It's a half breed. That's all they ever said I was, And
Yeah.
so I remember it was in the back of my aunt and uncle's olive green Mustang, Ford Mustang, and I was singing what I thought were the words. And my aunt says, "Why aren't you saying the right words?" And so I was kind of chastised for. I mean, I love the song. I love if you haven't heard, it's got a great musical track. It's horrible, the name of it, in today's society. But I remember I thought I was singing the words, but I clearly wasn't. My aunt said, "Well, can't you hear the words?" And then the next time I remember, my mom, we were all in the car and we were going somewhere. My mom and my brother and sister and I, our father was working. He was a welder on the second shift. And it was Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree by Tony Orlando and Dawn.
I love that
and
one.
my mom said, now listen to the words. And I understood the words. It was like this beautiful story unfolding, that I had never heard before. And then we would wait for that song to come on, when we were driving in the car,
Yes.
tie a yellow ribbon round the old. And of course, that had to do with the war and
Yes.
coming back. So it was those two songs. When I read your question, I was like, those two pop out at me as
I
wow. Those
love
were
that.
like things that are really imprinted on me about the first time I heard music on the radio that I recall.
That's wonderful. You know what? You brought me back on that tie a yellow ribbon. Because I'm like, tie a yellow ribbon round
round
the
the
old
old oak tree.
oak tree. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
It's been 3 long years. Do you
Do you
still want
still
me?
want me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Absolutely.
So the next song, or the next question. Did your family have a song that everyone would belt out on road trips or vacations when you were growing up?
No. We are an unmusical family, even though we try, but we always had country music on. My parents
Oh,
loved
yeah.
country music. They did the Record of the Month Club from Columbia Records. We'd get a record.
Yes.
Marty Robbins, Conway Twitty, Loretta Lynn, all the, Dolly, all the oldies but goodies. And we did love the I guess you would call them the ballads, Marty
Mhm.
Robbins, El Paso,
Oh,
down in
yes, yes,
the
yes.
West Texas town of El Paso, I met
Yes.
fell in love with a minute girl. So
Yes.
we would listen to a lot of country music on our road trips and always the current hits. We weren't a family that had, sang around the campfire song type family, but we did
Mhm.
listen to country music on the radio, or we would listen to my mother reading books. Before there were books on tape,
Oh,
my
cool.
mother
Yeah,
was
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
original books on tape.
The narrator. It's funny. So with my family, so if my grandfather, if we were going to Florida with my grandparents, it was the same thing with the reading. My grandmother was a reading specialist, so she would choose a few books for the trip, and she would read the books to me. And this is when you didn't have to worry about seatbelts, so I'd lay in that trench between the front seat and the back seat, and I just listened to the book. But with my dad, it was the same thing. So my dad's family was also very, very much into country music. So when you talk about Marty Robbins and all of those, Roy
Charlie
Clark,
Pride.
Charlie Pride,
Charlie
yeah,
Rich, hey,
oh
have
yeah,
you
the
seen
Silver
the most
Fox, yeah,
beautiful girl
oh
in
yeah,
the world?
absolutely know those songs.
Yeah, we
And if
my
she's
family,
here,
Stadler Brothers,
Laura crying,
crying,
hey, yeah,
all of
I know
those,
that.
yeah, all
I know.
those.
On the Statler Brothers.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
I used to love them. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
you're bringing back some. Oh, I love this, Lisa. Thank you. That's so awesome.
yeah,
I
that was
love
my
that.
family. Yeah.
So, in high school, did you have a song that you and your friends would just like totally scream at the top of your lungs when you were riding around?
Uh-huh.
What was
Well,
it?
AC/DC, Back in Black.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, AC/DC, I would say would be the song. You'd be cranking that up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the whole
Well,
album,
you and I are in this.
Highway to
Oh yes.
Hell.
Hell yes. No, so you and I are in the same
Era,
age group,
yeah.
yes, and so
Yeah,
yes,
there was
you're speaking my language.
a little bit of
You're-
REO Speedwagon, a little bit of
yes,
Super Tramp,
Sticks.
a little River Band, but if you were
Oh,
cruising, it was
Little River
AC/DC.
Band. Yeah, man. Yeah, Little River Band. Nobody's brought them up yet, so that's pretty cool.
I
Love
love
it.
Little River Band.
Absolutely. So I know you went to MSU.
Mm-hmm.
Did your musical tastes change a bunch from high school when you're doing, the AC/DC and the Little River Band and that sort of thing to college?
Yeah, I actually dislike 80s music. I went to school.
Really?
Yeah, I really do. I just, here and there, I'll find something. But I really went back to the early 70s music. I love
Three
disco. I
Dog
mean, I'm one of
Night
the
and
few
stuff like
people
that.
that love disco music, but I love
Oh, my
all the
wife does
bands
too.
before, the OJs, the Temptations,
Yes.
King Harris. I love all those songs. I had a college roommate who borrowed her boyfriend at the time loaned us a stereo, and then the record was Bread,
Oh, yeah.
and so I went back, and that era, the 70s era of music has just really stuck with me. If I have the Sirius XM, it's the 70s,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
the
yeah.
70s
Yep.
on 7. I love that music. So when it's really hard because I chair my class reunion, everyone wants the 80s music, and I kind of like,
Yeah, yeah. How about we go a little bit sooner, a little earlier? What got us there?
Yeah.
Well, think about it too. Then Motown during
Yes.
that time when you mentioned the OJs and different things, Pointer Sisters
Oh,
and
yeah.
Sister Sledge, and then of course Kool and the Gang's been around for
Yeah.
a long time.
Absolutely. Casey and the Sunshine Band,
Yep.
all of that.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever seen Casey and the Sunshine Band
I have
perform?
not seen them perform live.
Oh my goodness. What a show. I was fortunate enough to see Casey and the Sunshine Band and the Blues Brothers. And it was with Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi.
Oh.
But I also saw the Blues Brothers when I was in 6th grade with Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi.
Yeah.
So that was
great.
and your reference to the lower whacker was not lost, by the
No.
way. So.
If you know, you know.
That's
saw
right.
Whitney Houston perform
Oh my
at Pine
gosh.
Knob when Kenny G was her warm up.
Oh my
Walking through the
gosh.
audience with his clarinet. Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Wow.
Mhm.
He was the one that really brought instrumental music to the
Oh,
forefront
absolutely.
in that modern age. Obviously, before with like Benny Goodman and those artists,
Chuck
and
Mangione.
composers. Oh my god! Oh, feels so good. Yeah. Oh
And
my
who
gosh.
did Masquerade? Oh, I'm trying to think his name. I have it on my phone, which I shut off. So
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Well, I'm going to write it down so I can.
Masquerade. Yeah, he does some music. Not Benson.
Yeah, well, there's George Benson,
George
El Giro,
Benson.
George Benson. Yeah, George Benson. I've seen him before. Oh my gosh, amazing!
I just saw
amazing.
Olita Adams. Do you know who Olita Adams is? She's
No.
like oh my gosh! I first saw her in Detroit. She's like a combo of, I would say, not maybe Aretha and Adele, maybe Donna Summer and
Okay.
Adele.
Okay.
Just amazing. She's amazing.
I'm going to
Olita, Oleta.
Oh,
Olita Adams.
okay. I will look her up after this.
Mhm.
So, do you have maybe a few songs on a playlist that's like a hype playlist that helps you or gets you in that mood to go out and kick ass?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's hear them.
So they are, well, of course, the boys are back in town.
And Lizzie. Yes.
You got to crank that one,
Hell
I love
yes.
Easy Lover by Phil Collins, is the beat of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that song. Last Dance by Donna Summer,
Oh
the
my
intro is
gosh.
slow, but once it gets going, last chance for love. I actually love Jess Glynn's Hold My Hand. I can manifest a lot to Jess. That's a more recent song, but she's great. And then just a fun song I love by King Harris, Dancing in the Moonlight. I mean, whenever that comes on.
Love that song.
Dancing in the moonlight, everybody's feeling warm and bright. I mean, how can you not just love Dancing in the Moonlight?
I'm telling you right now, I love this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Dancing in the Moonlight.
I mean, if they come on, it's like I'm just cranking it, Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
100%. Oh, I'm with you. I am with you on that. Oh
Yeah,
my
because
gosh.
I'm
I love
gonna.
it, love it, love it.
Yeah, I love it. But,
So
I mean, I
is
love a
there
lot of songs. I mean, it was funny
me
when I first
too.
got my first iPod. I go, "Oh my god, this is my favorite song. Oh my gosh, this is my favorite song." I'm like,
Yeah,
Lisa, all of these songs are your favorite. This is your iPod.
I know. I know.
Now they're
Yeah,
like,
that's the funny thing about that. I had one of the first iPods, and
mhm.
I think I ended up having like 1,200 songs on it. And
Oh
I said,
yeah,
well, this isn't enough. And then I got one, and there was like 6,000 songs
oh
on it. And I
yeah,
was like, okay,
a whole
uh,
lifetime, and you could never listen to
right.
them.
No, and that's the thing. You could let that go. And I forgot how many weeks it was of music that, and
Yes,
I love that. I
mhm.
just, it's
Me
usually
too.
on in the background all the time for around the house. But
Mm.
um, so right now, is there a song that best describes you or your company, your organization?
Lizzo's "About Damn Time."
All right.
About damn time.
Love that.
Yes, it is. But here's the thing, a question you didn't ask. And every year on my birthday, I've done this for years,
Yes. Happy
long
belated
before
birthday,
I,
by the
oh,
way.
thank you. Um, when we only had radios, the first song I heard on the radio on my birthday was the theme for the year. And so now, because we have phones and that, I will shuffle the songs, and whatever song lands, that's my song for the year. And this year was "The Good Life" by Tony Bennett.
You've got to be kidding me.
No. I mean, they're all my favorite songs, but sometimes you get a song, you're like, really? How's this?
Wow.
um,
I love that.
but this year it's "The Good Life" by Tony Bennett.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So
That's very cool.
and so all my friends are like, most of my friends like, "What's your song this year? What's your song?" I've had Billy Ocean, "Love Zone." I've had
Oh,
Gretchen
yeah.
Wilson, "Come to Bed." Like,
Excellent.
what do you do for some of these songs? But you got to be true.
Eh,
I've had Justin Timberlake, "Can't Stop the Feeling."
That's a good one. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
So
Talk
it's
about
all,
a
yeah, it's all
jumping
good stuff.
song.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's a good one. I might start to incorporate that with
Yeah.
your permission.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like it.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Is there a guilty pleasure song on your playlist?
Starland Vocal Band, "Afternoon Delight."
Oh yes, it's so sad. This is I know. As soon as you said the name, I was like, oh my gosh.
Starland Vocal Band. I love that song. I just, that's my guilty pleasure. My other one is, and it's not like that, but it's the Eagles' "Best of My Love." I just,
That's a good song.
that is I had the pleasure of seeing the Eagles recently. After
Wow.
oh
Hell froze over.
no, after Glenn Fry had died. Yeah, hell froze
Oh
over
yeah,
too, but so
yeah.
Vince Gill was filling in, but
What a
"Best of
great
My Love"
fill in.
is just the best. But my guilty pleasure is Starland Vocal Band. So when I finally watched Good Will Hunting and I saw that it was in the movie, I'm like, oh
Oh
my
my
God,
gosh.
this is my movie.
Oh my gosh. That's great. Yeah. Well, you might. I was thinking about that time as soon as you did Afternoon Delight. I was like, oh yeah, that was also Midnight at the Oasis was
Hmm.
another one of those
Roberta
songs.
Flack,
Don't Rock the Boat.
"Don't Rock the Boat." Yeah.
That's a good.
I
Yeah.
love the
So yeah.
Eagles, and all that
Oh
type of
yeah.
music in the 70s. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have a
Good
hard
stuff.
time with 80s music when you love those groups.
No, I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, is there a song that you believe that could impact the way people think or feel about the world if they just listen to the song?
Yeah. I had four of them written down, but if I pick one, I would say "Love Train" by the OJs. People
That's a
around the
good
world,
song.
come
Oh,
on board, join the love train, love train. The
yeah.
next stop that we have will be England. Tell all your friends in Russia and China too. Like, if you
Love it.
listen to the words of "Love Train," people
That's
all over the
a good one.
world
Another
join hands.
first.
Yeah,
Love it. No,
yeah,
that's good.
love
That's very
train.
good.
I think if people, you know, listen to "Love Train."
Well, they're going to have a chance to because it's going to be on the playlist. Wonderful choice. It really was. So the final question that I have is this. There are songs that you hear that ring so true that they can really just stop you in your tracks. And the lyrics of the songs sometimes sound like they were either written for you or by you. What song is that for you?
The House That Built Me by Miranda Lambert. It's a country song.
Yeah.
And it's about going back and visiting a home that you had lived in, and that the current owners know nothing about your family or the life that you lived there. And it's familiarity in the song with my life, the going back to the homes. We lived in multiple homes, growing up. My father, moved us from northern Michigan to Flint to Montana. And then after his passing, we moved back to Alpena. And so, there's fond memories in different houses. And this song is about going back and asking the owners, can I just take a look around? You don't know me, but can I take a look around? And I won't take anything but a memory. And, I actually, after I heard that song, reached out to the owners of a house we lived in outside of Flint, Michigan, with when both my parents were alive. As I said, my father's gone now, and I never got an answer. And I wrote this letter, and people, my kindergarten best friend goes, "Oh yeah, that's a crazy person living there. Like, you're not going to get an answer. Like,
you don't want the answer."
I'm thinking, like, this is going to be a beautiful moment. Like, no. So
Run.
maybe when the next owners come, because I know the address, maybe when it's sold and the next owners come. But it's called The House That Built Me.
That's wonderful. I appreciate you sharing all of those with me. Just another first for some of the, actually, I think all of them, come to think of it.
I'm sure. Yeah.
No, but I'm
sure
a huge
nobody's
country fan
mentioned
too.
Marty Robbins, right?
Oh my gosh. It don't get me going on that stuff when I was growing up, because it used to be, we'd go to my grandmother's house for lunch on Sundays, and the TV was off. There was, even back then, there was like three channels. Right. Channel 9, you'd get the, Family Classics with Fraser Thomas or something like that. But it was really music. So we would listen to Loretta, Tanya Tucker, all of those, the
Glenn
older
Campbell.
classic.
Oh my God.
Glenn Campbell.
Crooner. Such a crooner.
Gosh.
We lost
him. He really was.
Oh my God. He's amazing. Wichita lineman. And
yeah. Just so many.
Galveston.
That was as soon as you said that, I just hear the going through my mind.
Galveston.
Yep, that's exactly what I heard. That's interesting.
Yeah, those were some heavy hitters on the radio back in the day. Yeah, that
absolutely
just led the way for country music and the soundtracks of many of our lives. That, and of course, we have to throw in Lawrence Welk. My guess is your family was like
yes, my grandparents on Sunday evenings, it was Lawrence Welk and all of those. But back then it was the shows, with what are they called?
Variety shows. They had
variety shows. Thank you.
Shows.
Yes, absolutely. With
Mac
the music.
Davis, Glenn Campbell, all of them had Barbara Streisand. They all had variety shows.
Don't Give Up on Me. Mac Davis. Stop and Smell the Roses.
Me, babe.
Oh, I could. So, please.
Yeah, and then Johnny Cash. My God, we can't leave country music without talking about the man. The Man in Black.
No.
And Waylon Jennings, Willie, Chris Christopherson. I mean, all of those, the Highwaymen. And then you had Emmylou Harris, Linda Ronstadt. Come on. Yes. I mean, there were some giants.
Linda Ronstadt. Yeah. Talk about a talented lady.
Yeah.
Blue Bayou. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't it
thank
make my
you.
brown eyes
Oh my
blue?
gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much again for sharing with us today. And
You're
now,
welcome.
Lisa, let me ask you, do you have anything that you're really excited about that's coming up for you that you want people to know about?
Um, I would say yes, I do. I do have things exciting coming up. I would encourage everyone to get involved in their nonprofit community and stay tuned for what's happening on the national stage with the nonprofit sector.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, it's just about time to cue the music for today's episode. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Drop the Needle podcast to stay up to date on our latest episodes. I'd also like to take a moment again to thank everyone for tuning in today. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Drop the Needle podcast. And one more thanks goes out to our special guest, Lisa Dietlin, for being our show's number one guest today. Thank you. And I'd also like to invite you to head on over to the show notes where there's going to be a link to the playlist from today's episode. And there's also going to be a link for you to contact Lisa. And if you're interested in her books and some of the things that she has going on, I'll make sure that you have every way to get in touch with her. So don't worry about that. All right, my Drop the Needle posse, like Billy Joel says, from the highs to the lows to the end of the show, this is the end of our show. Until next time, this is Jim Alstott wishing you infinite health and happiness and the perfect playlist for your life. Thank you again for being the best part of us. Catch you next time.